So this video is actually the second version of the introduction to Paal verbs. Now what happened? A long time ago I made a video on introduction to Paal conjugation, but since I didn't use Nikud and I did not translate every verb I was conjugating for the sake of actually focusing on the rules, a lot of people had a problem with that. So I took the subject again, I made a new video, it's now with Nikud, and I hope with enough translation of the verbs we are actually conjugating. I always mention that everything I'm saying in my videos you can find in my book, which is on Hebrew Verbs, the information where to get it and all other information in the bio of this video. And don't forget, there is Sabbath TV, which helps you actually really understand what Israelis are saying. It helps you to connect with the language and to learn how it is really used in everyday language, and I hope we are doing this for you in a fun way. In this video, we will take the usual order from infinitive over present tense, past tense, future tense, and we will finish with imperative. Now, if you want to jump the chapters, you can look at in the bio. There I put the starting times of each chapter, so you don't have to experiment where you actually find each chapter. We start like always with infinitive. Now, infinitive Paal, the general rule. Again, this video is on regular verbs. Irregular, different story, different videos. Okay, here comes the root, and we want to make an infinitive in Paal out of it. Here we go. We put a lamed in front and a vav between the second and the third letter. Now, in this video, throughout the video, we are gonna use this root here as an example, okay? Now, this root we use as the root, and now we make the infinitive by putting a lamed in front and a vav between the second and the third letter. And we read lisgor, to close. And this was already chapter 1. Chapter 2, present tense. Again, here is the root. And now we form the reference point that we need for all conjugations, which is third person masculine singular. This is your conjugation hero in all Hebrew conjugations. And for this, we simply put a vav between the first and the second letter. With our root, we then read soger. Hu soger. He closes. And with this information, we can now derive the other persons. Hu soger. He sogeret. Hem sogrim. Hen sogrot. Everything I'm saying in this video you can find in my books. There is the textbook and the workbook. Information, where to find it, everything with all my videos. If you have questions, most of the information you will find in the bio. Third chapter, past tense. Here comes the root. And now, to form our reference point, third person masculine singular, we just have to look what is the name of the binyan. The third person masculine singular in past tense follows the name of the binyan. What does that actually mean? The name of the binyan is Paal. You must write it in Hebrew, otherwise you don't see it. Now, what do you see when you see that? You see only the 3 letters of the root. And this is already it. This is already third person masculine singular in past tense in Paal. Here comes our root. And the instruction was, use only 3 letters of the root. And here we are. And we read, hu sagar. He closed. Here's a little hint. It has to be the same sound. So when you hear pa-al, you need this a sound in past tense. So pa-al, hu sagar. Now with this information, hu sagar, we are now going to our table. This is the table of past tense conjugation for all Hebrew verbs and all Hebrew binyanim. You only have suffixes, what I put here in red. You place what you know, hu sagar, and then you fill up the rest. And this is where we land. We read it together now. Ani sagarti, ata sagarta, at sagart, hu sagar, hi sagra, אנחנו סגרנו, אתם אתן סגרתם סגרתן, הן סגרו. And that's it. So this is the completed table. And from here we move on to future tense. Now remember, future tense needs pre and suffixes. Why? Because there's also a table that has pre and suffixes, not like the past tense table where we only had suffixes. Here we have prefixes and suffixes. Prefixes to the right, suffixes is what you see on the left. So the general rule for the reference point says, take the root, put a yud in front, and a vav between the second and the third letter. Now, to make sure you're not getting confused, let me add another explanation here. The vav is for all persons, but the yud is the yud of the third person masculine singular. That changes with each person, okay? Having said that, we read, hu yisgor, he will close. Now let me give you a little tip to make it a little bit easier for you to remember that. The infinitive was lisgor. And the future tense, third person masculine singular, is yisgor. So lisgor, yisgor. Here you already have an indicator where you're going with future tense. And now we put this information, hu yisgor, into that table. I left the yud of hu yisgor in red so you can identify the prefix. And now we fill it up. And when you look at it, you might say, wait a second, what was that? The vav is for every person, but there is at tisgri. Right, let me show you even more. At tisgri, atem tisgru, and hem yisgru. They don't have a vav. Why is that? Yes, it's true, the vav that I mentioned is for all persons, except for those that have a suffix. Suffix deletes vav. This is the reason why those we just mentioned, tisgri, tisgru, yisgru, don't have a vav. It just simply doesn't fit the pronunciation. We now read this together. Remember the infinitive was lisgor. Ani esgor, ata tisgor, at tisgri, hu yisgor, hi tisgor, אנחנו נסגור, אתם אתן תסגרו, הן יסגרו. Great, we are moving on to the last chapter. imperative. By now you might know from other sources or from my videos that you have two possibilities when it comes to the imperative. There is the possibility of forming the imperative through the use of future tense, or you use what I call the grammatically correct imperative. If you decide to use the future tense, this is possible with really most verbs in Hebrew. There are some exceptions where people don't use it this way, but if you are really insecure about the imperative, just try the future tense if this is the form that you remember in that moment. Most of the times you will be okay. So this is here the table that we actually used for future tense. And you just identify those persons that qualify for imperative, which is you male, you female, and you plural. When you say to somebody, for example, close the door, close, exclamation mark, then these are here the forms. You say to a guy, tiskor, to a girl, tiskri, and to several people you say tiskru. So this is one possibility. The other possibility with the so-called grammatically correct imperative goes like this. You take the root and you put a vav between the second and the third letter. And you read segor, close. And from this you can derive the other presence. So here is segor, blue for a boy. For a girl you say sigri, and to a group of people you say sigru. And here we have the exact same situation like before. Sigri is without the vav, sigru is without the vav between the second and the third letter of the root. Now what's happening here is exactly what happened before. Suffix deletes vav. Right? So you see we had segor was very easy and simple, and when we moved on, the vav between gimel and resh was dropped. Segor, segri, segru. Thank you for watching my video. I hope to see you in the next one.